Welcome to Cravings Control for Fat Loss. I'm your host, Laura Cavallo, former sugar binger, overeater, and yo-yo dieter turned fat loss and cravings coach for hundreds of busy women. Here at Cravings Control for Fat Loss, I'll be sharing mindset, movement, and metabolism strategies for those who are ready to ditch the fat diet cycle and slim down without counting calories, tracking points, or giving up any of the foods they love. Get ready to embrace progress over perfection, grace over guilt, and bring curiosity and learning to the inevitable ups and downs of your life. Expect a decrease in your cravings while seeing and feeling an improvement in how you look, how you feel, and your overall quality of life. I am so excited you're here, boo. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Cravings Control for Fat Loss. My name is Laura Cavallo, your cravings coach. And today I want to share some insight into how to track true fat loss and also share some insight into how long does real fat loss take. Now, I have women who ask me what the difference is between weight loss and fat loss. And so I'm going to share a little bit on that as well. And then I'm also going to go into different ways that you can track. Before we get into today's episode, I want to take a moment of your time because if you're someone who is currently looking to lose inches and slim down and shed some fat, or you just want to get your hands on my proven fat loss strategies that have helped my clients lose up to 10 pounds and 10 inches in 3 months without counting, without tracking, and without measuring, then you need to mark your calendars for Monday, June 12th, because I have a very special new program coming that I am very excited about. And you are not going to want to miss it. Follow me on Instagram or get on my free email list to be notified of the new program details. You can find both of those links below. Let's talk about weight loss versus fat loss. If you listened to my previous episode about 4 non-negotiables prerequisites for fat loss, you heard me talk about strength training. Strength training is a way to retain and build lean muscle tissue so that when you are combining strength training with a calorie deficit, you are retaining muscle while losing fat, okay? This is the best case scenario for fat loss, okay? In this scenario, when we combine strength training with calorie deficit strategies, we are now going to retain muscle, lose water, lose fat, and create that shaping effect that we want in the body, right? We want to look toned, look fit, look strong. This is what fat loss will look like. And we can measure this through progress photos, through circumference measurements of different parts of the body, also how our clothes are fitting. These are 3 ways that you can track your fat loss results. Now, when it comes to how long it takes, oftentimes when we see the scale come down in the first 2 to 4 weeks, that is weight loss, okay? We're losing mostly weight, which is going to be fat, it's going to be water, and it's going to be possibly some muscle as well. So anything that's within that first 2 to 4 week time period, even up to 6 weeks, can be considered more weight loss. When it comes to fat loss, as we combine strength training with nutritional approaches, we can start to see fat loss as soon as 6 to 8 weeks. Some clients, it takes longer, 10, 11, 12 weeks. I have a funny story. Well, it's not really a story, but it's a pattern that I see with my clients. When my clients start working with me, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, 4 is like the golden number because at week 4, all of my clients come to me and say, this isn't working. Why aren't I seeing weight loss? Why aren't the inches coming down? Right? Maybe we see the scale kind of budge, but the measurements aren't coming down. And then like clockwork, at week 6, at week 7, at week 8, things start to change and clients start to buy into the process. So one golden nugget for you out of this is give yourself time, at least 3 months to see true fat loss. Keep showing up strength training, keep applying some calorie deficit strategies, which I will share in the next episode on Tuesday the 6th. And know that fat loss takes time and it takes strength training with some nutritional approaches as well. Now, if you're not strength training and you're just doing some calorie deficit strategies, you will still have fat loss, right? But you will also be losing weight, which is fine and good. But during that weight loss, we're also going to see muscle loss. We want to retain muscle. So if you can find a way to strength train at least 2 times per week, you're going to be in a pretty good place to get started. So let's go back to how to track. So I like to use progress photos with all my clients to track because it's really interesting because I have clients who have completely body recompositioned where their weight and even their measurements didn't change that much, but their bodies look so different in terms of the excess skin around their stomach, their arms, their butt has completely tightened and toned, and they've completely slimmed down. And oftentimes, we may not see those changes on the scale. We may not see those changes in the measurements. And then we look at our photos and we're like, holy shit, look how much my body's changed. Look at that muscle coming in. Hell yeah. Love to see it. And you see your body every day, so it might be hard for you to notice those small changes. And so I love photos. A great way to do them is to wear a sports bra or underwear or shorts or anything that you're comfortable in. If you can see more of your skin and your body, as you start to approach a lower body fat percentage, you'll really start to be able to see the muscle coming through. So I want to encourage you to take progress photos in a sports bra, either underwear or shorts, so that we can see as much of your skin and your body as possible, and taking them from the front, the side, and the back. If you are strength training, I love to do them flexed. So making like a bicep muscle, like tightening everything so that you can see the development of your muscle mass as well. Take it in a brightly lit room. You can even do a little spotlight if you want against like a white wall without shadows. I will actually link below how to take progress photos and measurements so that you can start tracking on your own as well. Another great way to track is through measurements, okay? Using a soft-sided tape measure to track your circumference. I like to do underneath the armpits, around the natural waist, around the belly button, the lower belly, around the hips, the legs, and even the biceps to see any muscle mass that is coming through. Now, there's definitely going to be a margin of error when you use a tape measure. So I want to see trends over time, right? I'm not so worried about week to week. I want to see over months and years that you're gaining that muscle mass and you're losing inches in the places that you want. So you might need to elicit some help for this. Even with the photos, you might need to elicit some help, but know that there is going to be a margin of error when you are tracking with a soft-sided tape measure. If you want to have a more accurate way of tracking your progress, and just know that like photos and measurements is just a way to collect data and to give you information about whether the program is working or not. I know it can feel really personal when we take photos and take measurements and like, oh, they didn't go down, or I look bloated this week, or I don't like what I see. You can get really emotional and personal with some of these things. But I want to encourage you to look at these photos and measurements as objective data, serving as information about what you've been doing over the previous 4 weeks, or the previous 2 weeks, or the previous week. Looking at it as, okay, this is what happened, measurements went up, what has been going on the last week or 2 or 3 weeks. If I have clients for longer term, I like to have them measure every month. If I have clients for shorter time period, we'll do tracking every week. But again, those week to week changes aren't as quote unquote important as the month to month tracking I like to see. Again, this is all data and information. The more objective you can be with it, the more of a pleasurable experience and helpful experience you'll have with this. If you want to measure true body fat loss and see how much muscle you're truly gaining in terms of pounds, you want to know your body composition, you can do things called Dexa-scans, okay? And this is where you go to a facility, you lay in a bed that looks like a tanning bed, and they do a Dexa-scan on you. And they will tell you your body composition. So your muscle mass in relation to your body fat mass. They'll tell you how much water you are retaining. They'll also show you the distribution of your weight amongst your different limbs, your torso, where you're carrying more of your weight or more of your fat. And then you can go in and do that periodically every 3 months. You can do it every month if you want. And that is going to be the best way to really track fat loss and muscle gain. But if you don't have access to that, that's totally fine. You can use photos and measurements. And then, of course, the last way is to track just like using your clothes, right? How your clothes are fitting and how you feel in your body. I have clients who within a couple weeks are like, well, I feel like better. I feel tighter in my midsection. I feel stronger. I have more energy. And then the last way that you can track and measure not just fat loss, but your progress is through biofeedback. Okay. And I've done a whole episode on biofeedback. It is essentially how your body is communicating with you. And you can use things like your mood, your energy, your hunger, your cravings to help you see progress. It may not be a determiner of fat loss, but it will show you that you have made progress, and you can see those things within 2, 3, or 4 weeks. In addition, you can also use how your clothes fit to help you see that your body is changing, right? If your clothes are fitting a little bit looser or even just coming on a little bit easier, maybe you're fitting back into clothes that you've outgrown after a little bit of weight gain. Now these clothes are starting to fit easier. You can also use that as a way to track and measure your progress. So as a little quick recap, allow yourself a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks to see true fat loss and use things like photos, circumference measurements, biofeedback, and how your clothes fit to track your progress. The reason I don't like to use this scale is because the scale does not tell you how many inches you've lost. It doesn't tell you if you're retaining salt from the night before. It is not a good determiner of fat loss. The scale is a determiner of how much you weigh that moment, that time, and it's not going to account for different things that are going on in your life. So when it comes to weight loss, right, and when it comes to tracking weight loss, yes, you can use the scale, but it's not the only way to track. And using the scale, you have to be tactical with it, right? You can't just like randomly weigh yourself and be like, oh, I was up 3 pounds or now I'm down 5 pounds, right? If you are going to use a scale as a way to track, then the best way to do it is to weigh yourself every day. And then you take the average over 7 days for the week. However, there's a big caveat to this. If the scale is triggering to you, if it causes you stress, if it causes you anxiety, throw the fucking scale away. Hide the fucking scale. Okay? You need to have a healthy relationship with the scale before you can use it as a tool. Because it's exactly that. It's just a tool, like calorie counting is a tool. And if it is causing you stress, anxiety, and making you feel worse about yourself, it is not a tool that is helpful for you. So that is my caveat on weighing yourself. I know this was kind of like a all over the place episode, but I had a lot to share and a lot of different things popped into my mind. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions on this. Follow the links below to learn how to do progress photos and circumference measurements. And if you find a Dexa-scan in your city or town, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'd love to know your experience with it if you get one done. Let me know if this was a helpful podcast episode. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you soon.